So I'm going to start with what I think is probably my favourite folder in this whole collection, and it's actually the 3D folder. And I'm going to just show you a very basic embossing technique, how to get a lovely deep emboss, and then a few techniques and a few hints and tips for how to get that lovely dispersion of colour like you can see on the card here, right? So the first stage is the actual embossing. So what I've got is I've got the piece of card and I've cut, if you see, I've prepared the base card. So I've got the actual base card itself. I've done a matten layer with a little bit of the peach here, and then I've just cut my white so that it gives me a little bit of a border around. So this is how I'm going to have the layer. Then that's ready to go through the folder. So very simply, you'll see in the folder, you can feel that one side's raised and the other side's debossed. And actually the easiest way is, on the back, it's the Crafter's Companion. So as long as you've got Crafter's Companion in the back, you've got the raised up, it's pushing through there, so you'll have the emboss finish. Now, it doesn't really matter when you've got plain white card, but if you're working with different types of card where there's a front and a back, that's the way I would do it. So I've just sandwiched that right in between, and you can see it's a little bit smaller than the folder itself. That's because I'm leaving that little bit of an edge around the outside. Now, when it comes to 3D embossing, if you're using your Gemini, the sandwich combination you're going to use is one of the base plates, that's the clear one. We're going to put our folder on the top, then you want your magnetic, and then you want your clear, right? So you're not actually using the secondary clear plate, you're going to use that frosted one, and then it's ready to go straight through the machine. Now that should give you just the right amount of pressure to get a very, very deep emboss. So you can see on that piece there, you've got that really, really deep emboss to the edge. Now, you can see it on the white, but you can really see it come to life when we start adding a bit of colour. So that's what I'm going to do. And what I've done is I've taken some of our Harmony ink pads. So I'm actually going to use the Oasis, I'm going to use the Pink Tulip, and also the Straw Bale. Now, if you saw on the original card, what I've done is I've highlighted the background bits with the pink. I've put little bits of the Straw Bale over where the roses are, and then some little bits of the Oasis around where the leaves are. So I'm going to start with what's in the background first. It's the easiest way to think about it. And I'm going to use one of our sponge ink applicators. And the great thing about these are, you see, you peel off the end, they've got the Velcro on this side, and they come with a pack, and you can get loads of these little tops for them, really, the foam tops. And what I know a lot of people do is they would keep one of these foam tops for each colour they work with. You only actually need one handle, and you can keep switching out the base bits. So once I'm there, I'm just going to line that up ready to go. Now, when we're ready to put the colour on, there's a few different ways to do it. The way I like to do it personally is pop a little bit of ink down on a glass cutting mat like this. So I've popped the ink out of the ink pad by stamping it down onto the edge. And then we're going to pick it up on our sponge applicator. So the best way I can describe it is you're not going to dab, you're not going to just rub round and round, you're going to kind of scoop it into the centre part. So I'm just scooping it up there and working it into the centre part here. So you can see, starting on the outside and it's working its way in. And you don't have to have the whole of the base completely covered, but you need, because you've got more around the outside because we're working it in. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and where I want a little bit of colour, just dabbing that colour over. Yep, and I'm doing some little rounded action. There's no specific way to do it, but because it's the pink in the background, I'm just getting those little bits of colour to start with. Yep. So you can see there we've got plenty of the pink on. Now, because if I was now to put the yellow on the same one, I'm actually going to get like a pinky yellow shade. What I'm going to do, take that one off, get a new fresh one. I'm going to put the base on, and we'll now get some yellow. So I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to pop my yellow down, and you can see plenty of it on. So remember, this was Straw Bale, but any colour's fine to use. Again, I'm going to scoop that on using those rounded actions, and I've worked that all the way in to the applicator here. And then if I just go over, for example, where we've got those lovely roses. Now, because this is a 3D folder, it's just picking up that ink beautifully, and it's really showing that off. Now, I feel like I've got plenty. I'm starting to run out of ink there a little bit. Can you see it's quite intense here? It's not as intense here. All you need to do, pop a little bit more ink onto the base, round it up, and then we can pop a little bit more ink on. There we go. And you can see how much more intense that is now. So I've got my bits of lemon. And then I can change colours again, so I can take the lemon one off I can get another clean one, and we're going to go on with the blue. So I'm going to do the same again, just pop a little bit of the blue down to work with. Now if I'd used the same applicators I'd had for the pink, if I was going to clean them all afterwards, then actually I'd just get like a nice purpley colour blended in between here. So you've got various options. So just nice and light, just rubbing over now, bringing little bits of blue in there at various points, just to give a bit of shading, bit of a change, point of difference here. And where the blue's mixing with the pink, you can see there we're starting to get shades of like a purple ombre as well. So there's my nice different shading. So I'm happy with that now, so that's ready to go onto the front of the card. So if I just bring the card back in, I'm going to do this as a side opening card. So I'm going to pop the first piece down, and you can either do it with, I mean the tape pen works really, really well. I'm using the Collall all-purpose glue here because if you see, I'm going to pop this down and I've got time to manoeuvre this into position. You can see I'm just manoeuvring it around there. And if you find you're someone who really struggles with getting your mats and layers in exactly the right place, the all-purpose glue is definitely the best way to go about achieving that. And it's the same here when we come to use it on the 3D embossing. You can see just how 3D that embossing is there. So I'm getting plenty of that glue on. What it'll do is it'll soak down into all those little gaps. And then I can work this out, and again I can work it into place, position that round. If there's anywhere where I've got more glue oozing out there I want, so I've got some here, it literally just rubs away with your finger and completely rubs off your card. That's what's so great about the all-purpose glue. You've got that maneuverability time, and then also you can just rub it out the way. So I'm going to maneuver it exactly where I want it there and take off all these excess pieces. So there's my base card ready just to do a little bit of embellishing with, okay? And what I'm going to do is, I thought we'd put a little strip across. So I've cut a strip of the peachy card again, just a little bit longer than I need. We can easily cut it down there. And I'm going to run that through the thin embossing folder we've got. So this is one of the other embossing folders in the set. And this one here is actually, it's just a regular 2D embossing folder. So we're not worrying about the 3D. And what that means is it's a slightly different sandwich combination. So when you're working with a regular 2D embossing folder, you're going to use your two outside cutting plates. Now if you want to give it a little bit of extra depth and a bit of extra welly, try popping in your magnetic plate as well, just for a bit of extra pressure. If it's too much, the machine will just return it. So that's not the usual sandwich that we would tell you in the instruction booklet for an embossing folder. That's me adding a little bit extra in to say, can we get a deeper emboss? And actually, the machine's going to let me. If you're never sure, give it a try. The machine can always just return. Don't put too many extra shims in, but I think it's fine to pop that one in. So you can see again, when we left that there, look at the difference. I'm starting to see a little bit of the white core of the card come through because I've really pushed it to be very deep there, okay? So I'm going to take that, we're going to pop that across the front of the card here. And do you know what, just to show you the other option, I'm going to pop this one on with the tape pen so you can see the difference. I'm not worried about getting this in the right place first time. I'm quite comfortable that I'm just putting the strip on. So we're going to get that coming across in the right place. So stick that down and then just come in, little pair of scissors, and just cut off the excess there. Now the whole point of this card really is to show off that lovely embossing, so I don't need to do an awful lot to it. However, that is not enough. So what I've done is I've just taken a few of the other components that we've got from the kit. So I've taken one of the toppers, and I've also got just one of the little die cut pieces. They look a little bit flat on there, and you can actually lift them. If we go back to our ink pads, let's put a little bit of that blue back out again, and let me show you how we can just lift it a little bit further. So I can pick the blue up and then just inking round the edges like this, just picking it up, and it just adds a little bit of extra depth onto your die cut pieces. It takes the stark whiteness off the sides as well. I'm going to do that with both pieces. Now if you want that to stand up proud, a little bit 3D, you're going to use your Collall 3D glue gel. So all I'm going to do is pop a couple of blobs on here. You could also use foam pads. You don't have to use the 3D glue gel. I find it's a little bit easier when you want 3D effect, but foam pads would work equally as well. Same with this bit down here, and you'll find that glue gel will take around about 15 minutes to be touch dry. And then if you want to really finish it off perfectly, I would leave it overnight to dry. drying brilliantly. And then I've just tied a tiny little ribbon. I thought, doesn't that just finish it off lovely on there? It brings in the blue that's in the background. And when you want to work and get a tiny little bit of that glue gel, basically the glue gel is going to work like if you were using a hot glue gun, but without you having to have the hot glue. So I can put a little bit of a blob on the end using the pokey tool to perfectly position it, and then just pop that on there. And again, don't need to do an awful lot to that card to finish it off because all the details in that beautiful embossing folder.